Once upon a time, there was a quiet town surrounded by a dense forest. The town, seemingly idyllic, was nestled among ancient trees and had always maintained a kind of enchanting tranquility. But everything changed one night when the darkness of the forest seemed to swallow every light and every hope. It was a cold evening, and the young hiker, Joe, had embarked on a nocturnal adventure in the forest, an area he had explored many times before. Joe was a thrill seeker, loving the excitement that only the heart of the night could offer. But that night, when his dim flashlight suddenly went out, Joe found himself immersed in such a dense darkness that he could only hear the sinister sound of branches breaking under his feet. He was completely disoriented. In the darkness, Joe managed to glimpse a faint glow coming from behind a tree. His curiosity compelled him to approach, but when he reached the source of the light, what he saw would haunt him for the rest of his life. Next to a tree was a wooden box, and inside that box, illuminated by a feeble light, lay a still-beating human heart. Joe, terrified, looked around trying to understand what was happening, but there was no one in sight. His heart was pounding furiously, and Joe knew he had to escape from that accursed place. But it was too late. Terror had already begun to take hold, and the evil hidden in the darkness of the forest had made him its prey. The once peaceful town was now shrouded in the darkness of the night. Joe's disappearance had shaken the community, but no one could have imagined the horror that would befall them. The police began to investigate the case, but the serial killer proved to be cunning and ruthless. Each subsequent victim was found with their heart ripped from their chest, still beating, as if someone were relishing in playing with their agony. The horror grew with each passing day as the town was besieged by fear. People no longer dared to venture out at night, afraid of becoming the next victim. The streets, once teeming with life, were now deserted and enveloped in the eerie silence of the night. Fear had infiltrated the homes of the town, leaving indelible scars on the minds of its inhabitants. The horror was intertwined with a series of cryptic messages left by the unsettling killer. It was as if he wanted to be captured, yet at the same time, he relished the cat-and-mouse game, pushing the authorities and the townsfolk to the brink of madness. In the heart of the town, as terror spread like a cancer, emerged a resolute figure, Detective Sarah. She was known for solving the most challenging cases, but what lay before her was a dark and twisted enigma unlike any other. Sarah delved into the deranged mind of the killer. She gathered clues from every dark corner of the town, meticulously examining the crime scenes. Every detail, no matter how gruesome, was a piece in the puzzle she was trying to solve. She discovered that the killer had a penchant for macabre wordplay, leaving unsettling clues and cryptic messages at the crime scenes. It was as if he wanted to be captured, yet at the same time, he relished the cat-and-mouse game. With patience and dedication, Sarah mapped out the locations where the killer had struck. She began to see a pattern, a hidden pattern among the shadows. But the killer seemed one step ahead, leaving ever darker and more complex clues. After months of investigation, Sarah finally found a clue that seemed to lead to the killer's hideout. It was a cryptic message, a sort of psychopathic puzzle that only Sarah could solve. The message led Sarah to an abandoned house in the heart of the forest. It was a dark place, a dwelling of horror and secrets where every wall seemed to hide the echo of ancient crimes. Inside the house, Sarah discovered a series of faded photos. They depicted scenes of horror and despair, perhaps clues to past crimes or maybe a vision of the future. The past and the present seemed to blur together in an endless nightmare. Sarah mapped out the house, marking every path she had followed. It felt as if she were entering the mind of the killer himself, following his macabre footsteps through a maze of madness. In the dimly lit hallway, the silence was oppressive. Every step Sarah took resonated like a death knell. She felt that she was approaching a turning point, but she didn't know what awaited her around the next corner. Inside that abandoned house, Sarah found herself in a labyrinth of dark rooms and corridors. She had to confront the killer to end his reign of terror. Her flashlight cut through the darkness as she walked resolutely through the eerie hallway. At one point, the shadow of the killer loomed on the wall in front of Sarah. It was as if darkness had taken human form, an evil presence ready to challenge her. The killer wore a mask made of human skin, a face that embodied pure malevolence. Tension reached its peak as Sarah and the killer clashed in a desperate showdown. The torchlight flickered as the two engaged in a fight to the death. The killer, insane and sadistic, sought to rip Sarah's determination from her. In the end, the serial killer was defeated. His mask fell, revealing a face distorted by madness. But the cost of victory was high. Sarah had battled the darkest evil, but the town still bore the deep scars of the terror he had sown. The story of Sarah and her battle with evil remained etched in everyone's memory. It was a tale of horror that no one would ever forget. But who can say if evil was truly defeated? Who can say if the killer acted alone or had accomplices? Fear lingers in the darkness of the night, as the heart of that town continues to beat with terror.